Welcome to our discussion on using technology and automation to improve IP operations. We know that your time is valuable. We really appreciate that you've chosen to spend the next hour with us as we discuss some technology solutions for you. I'm excited that we have an audience from across the US and many joining us from Europe. Please feel free to submit questions during our program using the Q&A option. If we can't get to your question during the broadcast, we will definitely follow up with you online. Our guests are also more than willing to answer questions after the presentation, so feel free to reach out to them. My name is Russ Slifer. I'm the CEO of Black Hills IP, and have spent my career leading IP teams in law firms, at Micron Technology, and even the USPTO. Today, I'm joined by three guests: Karin Carling-Soholt, Global Head of Sales and Marketing for Patrick's. We also have Mehrdad Asadi, the Chief Technical Officer of Patrick's, and Lori Brown, Senior Account Manager here at Black Hills IP. Now, I suspect that you're joining us today because you're involved in modernizing your legal operations. In the last 10 years, we've had two significant global recessions, an ongoing pandemic, all resulting in constant downward pressure on corporate budgets and headcount. At the same time, we've had a proliferation of technology into every aspect of our lives. Maybe some of the goals on this page resonate with you. Your law firm or company needs to reduce overhead, become more efficient and save time, improve quality, or the need for your operation simply to focus on core high-value skills. Your interest in this topic today may be limited. For example, you may be using outdated software that is not web-based or accessible from everywhere. Or maybe you don't know where to start on a very long list of support tasks that need improvement, from proofreading, application filing, shell response creation, prosecution statistics, USPTO and international IP office data management, maybe maintaining IDS references, just to name a few. The good news is there are technology solutions available. The bad news is that successful modernization is not a project that can be completed. It's a never-ending challenge. It requires commitment, flexibility, and a willingness to embrace change by your entire organization. Lots of change. As a law firm, if you're operating the same way you did 2 years ago, you're already falling behind your competition. As a corporation, if you're offloading these tasks to your outside counsel, you end up paying for it anyway. Today, we're going to be focused on discussing docketing and IP management systems, that bookkeeping process of tracking tasks and due dates essential for patent and trademark prosecution. We know that docketing is not your core mission. It's not sexy, and it doesn't add value if it's done the old manual way. What it does do is create opportunities for human error, requires extensive training of employees, and drains your management resources. Our two companies provide different technology solutions. Patrick's has developed an IP management software platform that is tailored for today's operations. While Black Hills IP doesn't offer software to our customers, we have developed our own AI-based systems to automatically curate the docketing data essential for leveraging your docketing software. Our companies are very good at what we do, and we decided to work together because we believe the best way to help our customers is to allow seamless integration and interaction of data and services. We know that one company by itself can't be the best at solving all back office challenges. Now, with that background, I'm going to turn the program over to Karin to introduce to you some of the technology offered by Patrick's. Karin?
Thank you, Russ. And before I start, I would like to issue a poll. We have a question we would like the participant to quickly answer, and it's about what IPMS system you're using. So I think you will see the questionnaire displayed on your screen. So just take a second to fill that out. And I will share the result after a few minutes. Okay, so Patrick's, for you who has not met us before, is an IP management software provider. And we sell our products both to IP law firms and to IP departments within the corporate side, with the industry side. And we have existed for quite a long while now. And we are built on IP knowledge. I mean that most of our employees, of maybe not everyone, but almost everyone, has a background from the IP industry or from the IP law firm side. We are an independent company, meaning that we don't belong to one of those big IP groups consisting of acquisitions of small companies, bigger companies, and so on. We are still independent. We are owned by our founder, and that's a really good thing because we work with long relationship with our clients. Our main offices are here in Sweden, where I am. That's the headquarters. And we also have an office in Washington, DC, and we are serving our US or North American clients from our Washington office. In addition to that, we have support all around the globe. We either through our own staff or through one of our partners. We know it's super important to speak local languages. Not everyone is speaking Swedish. That's a shocker. But we also have people speaking French, Spanish, German, and so on. And we are in different time zones to make sure that we can give the best support to our global customers. And Patrick's is the company and Patricia is the software. And there's always a lot of mixed up, but I just want to stress that Patricia is the name of the software. And we offer our software either as an on-prem solution where we install the software on our clients' servers on their premises, or as a SaaS solution where we take care of the hosting of the software. I think we have a result. Do we have a result of the poll? You can take a look at. I know there are many Patricia users among the people today. Okay, yeah, I see it now. Some of the competitors too. Thank you for taking part of that quick poll. So to continue here, we know from Patrick's that the market today, they are embracing, the IP market are really embracing new technology. And that is good because technology will help us automate processes. And automation of processes is good because it gets things done quicker, safer, and more efficient. Previously, a lot of these work processes had to be done with manual steps, and it was cumbersome and it was not as secure. Now you can simply, by a click in your software, replace these processes in a very, very good way. I'm coming back to that in just a second. But smart technology also means that you can pick the providers you want to work with. We believe, both Black Hills and Patrick's, that the IP customers should have the option to decide who they want to work with. So if they want to work with a specific renewal provider or a specific analytics provider within Patricia, they should be able to do so. And we try to make it as easy as possible for our clients to do so, either by different kind of interfaces between the systems, integrations, but also by offering APIs. And we know this is super good for our clients and it's very appreciated. Another thing that is appreciated and almost a must on the market today is that the IPMS systems contain a lot of best practice. We don't want to invent the wheel again. No one wants to do that. And therefore, we have a lot of best practice already in Patricia. We have standard reports, we have dashboards, we have workflows, etc. So it's ready to use pretty much from the get-go. And even though you can customize, it's nice to have that basic fundamental best practice in the system because it will for sure save you time. And also, of course, that if you have all these alternatives, you have these integrations with the different IP service providers, you have best practice and so on, it needs to be easy to use it. The interface needs to be very user-friendly and intuitive. And I think we, and probably many of the IP providers, IPMS providers today, have worked a lot with interfaces. We for sure have done that the last couple of years at Patrick's, and we have a really nice interface now. And I would like to mention two things that makes life much easier for our customers in Patricia today. And the first one is the data comparison. And the second one is the extended document management system. So if I start with the data comparison, this is a feature that many customers use. We know that in our business, we need to keep track of our deadlines. You can never miss a deadline. The consequences of doing so are almost fatal. So we double check and we triple check the numbers, the dates, etc., etc. And with the data comparison feature, we can check IP data that is stored in Patricia against the official patent data that is registered in the patent offices all over the world. And the feature locates and retrieves the information from EPO's web service platform called Open Patent Source, OPS. And it contains information from 90+ countries. And if you want to validate your data, you can see here on the screen that it says Patricia value. That's the value you have entered in Patricia. And it compares it with the source value. And if it doesn't match, it's very easy to just by a click update the information so it's correct in Patricia. And also if some data is missing, you can pull in that data and with a click you can update it into Patricia. And it's super convenient and it's really appreciated by all the paralegals because it gives them this extra comfort, as you can understand. The second thing I want to talk about before we start talking about Black Hills Analytics is the extended document management system. And the good thing here is that we within Patrick's, we use Patricia ourselves. So I have created here a case called the Joint Events with Black Hills. And all my correspondence with the Black Hills team will appear here on the DMS tab, the extended DMS. And as long as you have the reference number in the title of your email or in the text of the email body, it will, when we send it out or when we get it from Lori, automatically be stored under the right case in Patricia. And that's very good because you no longer have to look for where did you place it, in what folders, who got the emails, etc. Now you can just flick through these documents or messages. It's almost like going through a physical file. You can easily find what you're looking for with this preview function you see to the right. And also the EDMS contains many smart search functionalities. I'm not going to talk about them in detail, but it's something that really makes life easier and more efficient for our customers. And now I'm going to talk about the integration with Black Hills. So you see this is a printout from our demo system, and to the right you see a Black Hills tab. And as you have understood from the introduction from Russ, we have teamed up with Black Hills in order to offer our joint customers some tools to help automate the IP processes, save time and reduce the risk of human errors. And I think we can jump into Patricia to see how it looks like. So the first page you see here is the dashboard or the landing page where you log in from Patricia, and it could be configured to look different depending on the users. And here we see the different tabs, and this is the logic we have for all cases, regardless if it's a trademark, design, patents, etc. You store the information in a very structured way under different tabs. And we also see the data comparison that I talked about, classes, citation, notes, and then finally we come to the Black Hills tab. And the clients using Black Hills services would have this tab in their Patricia. And here we have two different alternatives, the patent analytics and the prosecution analytics. And the first one is a just-in-time display to the information provided by Black Hills. And the analytics here is about this specific case. It shows info from the USPTO like publications, legal, status, abstract, claims, family information, owners, and international classification. But the tab that I really like is the prosecution analytics tab, the one right next to it. And here you really see some interesting things. Here you can see like the allowance versus rejection rate for that specific examiner. So the examiner that the case was allocated to. And you could see the average time to issuance and predict of next action based on your examiner's past trends. The experience and current workload of that said examiner, and also a complete review of each matter history. And this is quite unique and fantastic, I think. And our goal is, of course, to offer our clients a tool to help you improve the prosecution efficiency, predict the cost from the beginning until grant, and allow you to manage your client's expectations if you are a law firm by using examiner statistics. And having all this information gathered in the same place, gathered in Patricia, would make life easier for you. You don't have to search for it in different places, but you have everything at your fingertips, everything that you need. And Black Hills have a lot of interesting analytics services. And I think Laurie is the better one of us to talk about that. So I give the floor to you, Laurie.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
Thanks.
Thanks for the demo. Now we're going to shift over to a discussion of some automation tools that are developed by Black Hills. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Black Hills, let's get to the advance to the screen, the Black Hills screen, Justin. There we go. Okay. For those of you that don't know about Black Hills, we've been in business for 10 years, and like Patrick's, we're an independent company. And our services are provided from our two main offices in Minneapolis and Rapid City, South Dakota. Something that's unique about our company, and one of the things that attracted me into joining Black Hills, was our CEO, our president, and our chief technology officer are all patent attorneys. And that's reflected in all of our services because they've brought their firsthand knowledge and experience for what IP attorneys are really looking for and what was missing from other service providers in the industry. So our primary focus is to apply technology and automation to processes that have traditionally been done manually and are very labor intensive. And then we integrate those automated processes with software systems that provide an open application interface such as Patricia. The end result is that we're able to execute high volume, repetitive procedures faster and more accurately, and that's going to lower your cost. So now we're ready for our second polling question to see how everyone in the audience today currently handles their docketing. We can put that up there. Okay. This one's pretty quick because it's just one of three things. And the results are going to be shown in a couple of minutes. But in the meantime, I'm going to go on and describe one area where Black Hills has developed some automation to improve the traditional way of doing docketing. The old way that IP departments did docketing and paralegal tasks, and still do in most cases, is on site, using a lot of paper files and humans paper and files and humans to do all the work manually. They have to classify the documents, they have to identify them, they have to determine what to do with every document that comes in, and then they manually have to enter that into their systems. Well, not only is that more expensive, but it's open to more errors and inconsistencies because multiple people are doing it. And it's obviously much slower. The new way of docketing, I don't know, are you able to take this polling question off the screen? Maybe not. it'll go away in a second. The new way of docketing uses technology to provide automation. It's cloud-based, using your own docketing system. And the more open your docketing software is, as Karin mentioned, the more automated docketing can be using electronic workflows. So if you're in the market to buy IP software, IP management software right now, or you're looking to change yours, it's good to pick one that allows third-party integration, because more of these automation tools will be available to you going forward. Automation can combine many sources of data very quickly. It can classify documents, it knows what to do with them, and all this is done very, very fast and much more accurately than a human could do. It doesn't require your internal resources or their knowledge of country laws, and you don't have to worry about software updates because your software provider is going to do that for you. Black Hills has found that by working with partners like Patrick's that provide an open API into their system, that we can integrate up to 90% of all US docketing. 90% of all US docketing can be fully automated, and that's illustrated on the next slide. No human handling of documents is required. No interpretation is required at all by humans, and it's all automated. Now, foreign docketing is not quite that high yet as 90%, but there's still a lot of automation that can be applied. And it even recognizes documents in foreign languages and knows how to docket them. Next slide. So it just makes sense that if you can automate certain tasks, it's going to increase the quality and the efficiency by reducing errors, and that in turn is going to decrease your overall costs. So now we're ready to see the results of the polling question on to see how everyone is currently doing docketing. Most in-house, some outside to law firms, and outsourcing to a vendor. Okay, this is kind of what I expected, where most people are still doing it in-house the manual way, and even law firms are usually doing it the manual way as well. So let me give you another alternative. In addition to the online analytics that you saw that were accessible from Black Hills within Patricia, Black Hills also offers automated docketing, and it's quite different from what's available from any other docketing provider in the market. This can't really be demonstrated in a software demo, so I'm going to explain the reasons why our docketing method is unique. I'm going to start by pointing out that the most common causes of docketing errors, and I think you'll agree with this, come from three things. One, incorrectly identifying a document. Two, using the wrong action in your system and you're docketing the wrong thing. And three, obviously, from manual data entry errors. So our computer-guided docketing approach is also accompanied by a computerized verification process. And that results in docketing accuracy. And it's more consistent, and it's far more consistent than any other activity that's achievable by human docketing alone, because it's going to be computerized. Patent offices have specific rules for responding to particular actions. We all know that. And those rules can be programmed. So it's docketing as a art or science is highly rule driven. It involves many thousands of rules that are constantly evolving. And even if you could keep up with all the changes, they would exceed the memory capacity of the great majority of your docketing staff. So this type of work is inherently much more suited to a computerized process, because a computer can recall thousands of rules and faithfully execute them and follow them the same way without fail every time. We still use humans to supervise the process and handle the exceptions, but the vast majority is automated. So how does it work? Well, our docketing process employs artificial intelligence to provide computer-guided docketing that identifies the documents. It then uses the rules that we have built in to assist, and in some cases, fully automate the determination of what to docket without any human intervention. And after that, we employ a second computerized verification process that uses over 27,000 rules, and that number is growing all the time, to confirm that what should have been docketed actually is docketed. And that any discrepancies, like any events that don't match well-established criteria, they get flagged by our verification process, and then one of our docketing specialists will review them and complete the process. So sometimes it's helpful to see a simple picture. So this slide illustrates the flow chart of how the automation process works. So every night we scrape the USPTO's private payer office. Foreign correspondence is sent to a dedicated email box that we'll set up for you. Everything's OCR'd, and then it flows into our IP Tools system. IP Tools is the name that Black Hills gives to our internal automation program. It works its magic, and then It uploads all the documents and dockets the correct action into your integrated docketing system. It goes through that second pass verification system, and it all flows 100% very automated. So what does this mean for you? Next slide shows all US docketing and document upload is going to be done within 24 hours if your system is open and integrated with our automation tools. In other countries, other foreign correspondence is going to be docketed within 3 days or less. You get better quality and consistent outcomes in less time from our automation and through that second pass verification system. And this is going to free up your people for higher value billable work. So you don't have to worry about turnover, vacations, sick time, or any lost knowledge if someone leaves the company or firm, since our automation is going to be handling your docketing virtually for you. And Karin and I will be happy to talk about the details and pricing of this with any of you individually. But you'll see a contact information slide at the end of this, so you know how to get in touch with us. But right now I'm going to turn it back to Russ, who's going to give a quick wrap up and go through any questions that may have come in during the presentation. Russ?
Thank you, Lori. I don't have so much of a wrap up right now as I do want to turn to some of the questions that we've been getting online. And encourage, of course, the audience to continue that, because we really would like to try to answer questions more than just make presentations. But the first question that I have, and this is really for Mehrdad, I guess, is the data comparison feature in Patricia. Audience members wondering where that data is pulled and how accurate is that data for non-EPO or non-US data. Thought maybe you could give the audience an answer for that one.
Yep. The data is pulled from the EPO and the Trademark View, TMU sites. And those are official data coming from the patent offices. So they're as accurate as the patent officer accurate. So we have to trust the patent offices with their data. Then I think that would be a good thing.
How extensive is that? By the way, Mehrdad, how extensive is that matching feature? How deep does it go? Is it really just matter level, patent numbers, those kind of things?
No, it's bibliographic information.
Okay.
I think OPS has a published link. I don't know if I published on a Q&A here. People can see that one.
Okay.
Link to the OPS for the patent side there. List all the data they have and what time frames and the content and how often they're being updated as well. And the same applies to TMU.
I think the data comparison is the following items: application date, application name, citations, class, diary, all the basic fields, publication date and number, registration date and number, priority information and title. So there's quite many fields that can be retrieved and compared.
Now, Karin, we actually got several questions that came in with regard to the analytics feature, and wondering, is that a basic feature in Patricia? Is there additional cost to it? Maybe you could just add a little bit more background to the analytics.
That tab will appear for those clients who choose to work with Black Hills. Mehrdad, do you want to take that further?
Yeah, I mean, from a technical aspect, one thing that we did focus on with the Patricia environment when we did the re-engineering and redevelopment was to make it open and also make it possible to work with open services or similar services. So both the analytics data content that's provided by Black Hills are services that we can access and connect into. And I think what Karin mentioned in her presentation is important to say. These are just-in-time interactions. So when you click on it or when you go into it, that is data as it is at this moment. So once you go back into it 10 minutes later, if something has changed, you will get the data as it is at that moment as well. But it is part of the integration aspects that allows us to connect with similar-minded providers and kind of integrate with each other.
Lori had a question that came in wondering, is the interaction with Black Hills and Patricia different than, say, with some other systems like Foundation IP?
Well, those Foundation IP and Patricia, there are several systems on the market that do provide the open application interface. So this is not exclusive to Patricia, but Patrick's and Patricia, but Patricia is one of the ones that is open. Foundation IP also offers an API, and there's a couple other ones, CPI, AppCall. There's other systems that provide open hooks that allow us to integrate our automation software with it. Others are less automated. Doesn't mean that if you're using a software that doesn't have an API that we can't do the automated docketing. It's just not going to be as fully automated as it is with some of those other systems that let themselves be open.
And now the difference with Patrick's and some of the others is, the demonstration that Karin showed with an actual tab where you can see the analytics from Black Hills, those won't show up in other systems. They have APIs that allow our system to connect to them and upload automatically all of that prosecution information that we've curated. But the integration with Patrick's is a step beyond that even. And so we, while we work with any system, we try to be agnostic at Black Hills, but Patrick's with Patricia have been far more open-minded and realize that our mutual customers benefit when their vendors can work together in a more harmonious way. I'm going to take one question here that came in, and it said that they assume that we're using USPTO codes to identify documents and what happens when new codes are added or changed. And that's actually not a good way to describe. I don't want to give away our secrets on our webinar, but Black Hills actually, we've created a very sophisticated analysis system. And yes, we look at the codes for what the USPTO or any other IP office, but we also OCR the document, and we have literally thousands of routines and even some learning AI that analyzes what the actual document is and errors in it if there are any. So what we do gives us 100% confidence that we know what the document is that is just showed up from the patent office and how to docket that into the system you're using. But thank you, that's a very good question. We have so many coming in, it's hard to keep up with them all. Wondering about, Lori, there's a question that came in here as I'm reading through these. 24-hour turnaround is mostly okay for docketing. Wondering about faster turnaround, especially for track 1 applications. So maybe you could just speak for automated docketing, how long that takes.
Well, if the system is one of those, if you're using a docketing system that's one of those that is open API where we're fully integrated, any US docketing can be done within 24 hours. Foreign docketing is going to be done within, we guarantee 3 days, it's usually done in less. So the more automation and electronic workflows can be applied if your system is fully automated. But if it's not, we always guarantee 3 days or less for the automation. Does that answer the question?
I didn't ask it. I don't know. This is one thing with technology, and I kind of said this as we started the broadcast today, is that it's ever changing. There's never a completion date. I see a question on here wondering about, does automation work in every patent office basically around the world? And the answer is yes and no. When you look at docketing, it's communications. They're in different languages and they've got different formats, but they also have different demands from the public. So the IP5, EPO, China, Korea, Japan, the US have lots of demand, and so certainly get more attention and more resources to take a look at to identify what the documents are. When you get to smaller offices around the world that aren't used as much, then it takes a little longer to get through an automation process. So the short answer is not everywhere is 100% yet, but it's building on itself. And once you start down this process, eventually it will apply all around the world. Karin, there's a question that came in maybe for you or Mehrdad, wondering about if you've got the Black Hills Analytics page, can you save the results to Excel, or how do you use that report other than looking at it online?
You can save the content of the page out. It is, again, it's a just-in-time, so you're not really storing data per se, and that's the benefit of the just-in-time operation, because you will not get legacy data, or you don't have to work with synchronization of data, but you can save the content of that page at that time.
Okay. Lori, we had a question come in and wondering to what extent does automation, can you automate a process without human intervention? And for example, what happens when you get a U.S. office action? What could they expect to see happen?
If it's USPTO and it's one of these integrated systems, it does not require human interaction. It's only when something that second verification process that I spoke about, that's when it goes through and it says, did the documentation coming in from the USPTO match a well-established criteria that we have a rule for? And we have thousands and thousands of rules in there. If it's yes, it automatically gets docketed. It doesn't require any human to interact with it at all. It's only in the situation where, and office actions and the common things, obviously they're always going to be automated 100%. It's just the rare occasion that comes in where we don't have a rule in the system yet, and it doesn't match 100%, then it's going to kick it out, flag it. And that's when one of our docketing experts will take a look at it. And then once that happens, then we'll build rules in. So the database is constantly growing and it's constantly getting more intelligent, and we're adding in rules for any exceptions that are coming in. So it's getting smarter and smarter all the time.
So for example, when an office action is issued, let's say in the USPTO, and our system analyzes it and then integrates with Patricia, our system knows that it's a US office action. It knows if it's a final, a non-final. It knows if there was, maybe it was marked as non-final, but the examiner commented and said it was final, so there's a conflicting error in it. It knows if formal drawings are due, etc. And then when it's integrated with Patricia, it knows which activity to open. A non-final office action was received, formal drawings are due. So it opens up through the API in Patricia those particular activities, and then it populates when the action was mailed, all of the relevant information, so that Patricia would then process it as if a human had put in and open up when the due dates are, the open docketing activity. All of that, that's one reason why we can't really demonstrate it very well in a video, is it just happens, as if all of the data got populated in and then the system takes over, and your organization would then see that an action was received and when the office action is due and all the docket dates associated with it.
And it does use the contract, the templates, the law files of Patricia and these other systems. So once it recognizes that it's an office action, each of these software systems have country laws built in that says this is how you handle office actions. And these are the activities and how the nomenclature, what we're going to call them, and that populates their docket. It can also, as part of the setup, we will build in individual requirements. So if your system says it's going to calculate a 3-month office action extension, for example, well, say you want something else, we can work with you and build that into your system to where it automatically takes your own internal customizations, and that's built into the automation as well. So it not only calculates the law, the statutory dates, but it it integrates with your internal requirements as well. And that's based on each system that we would integrate with.
Karin, we keep getting a lot of interest in the data comparison, and wondering if that can that be done in more of a bulk fashion, or automated in some way to kind of run in the background for you and identify any errors?
I don't know what you mean by the bulk fashion, but you have to retrieve it per case in Patricia. But I assume there are ways to do it in a bulk fashion, but I will ask my IT guru, Mehrdad.
It is in the pipeline. One of the things that I think is important to understand, these services are provided by the patent offices. And just looking at the USPTO and their challenges the last few years with being hit by data miners and kind of pulling those public services, there are some restrictions to bulk download data from the public offices, but there's a bulk download option that is in pipeline. It does require additional agreements or contract with the patent EPO in this case.
Karin, let me ask a more general question instead of some of the detailed, as we're looking at these questions coming in. What trends do you see right now in technology for IP management? What other systems and services and changes should some of our audience be looking at or thinking about?
I don't know about other systems, but I do know that more and more prospects are asking for SaaS solutions where they don't have to take care of the IT themselves. They can rely on Patrick's to for all security measures, all backups, and all the running of the system. I think that is a trend we see more and more. Past, it was more smaller companies, but now we also get this request from bigger law firms and bigger corporations, and that's for sure a trend that I see. But that's more about the technical solution. The system in itself is, of course, the same, if you want it on your own servers or on premises or in the cloud or whatever, it's the same Patricia. But the trend to outsource more and more of the IT, I think, is something we're going to see much more about.
And I think to add a little bit to that too, and when we take a step back and look at the patent operation or trademark operation, whether you're in-house or in a law firm, I mean, what you're doing none of us patent attorneys especially want to think of what we're doing as a production environment, but in reality it is. We're building a portfolio, we're managing a portfolio, and there's a lot of steps that go into performing that value added function that we've got, and a lot of those steps aren't value added, and they've been, I hate to date myself, but I remember when I started practicing, I was taught how to use a dictaphone and have somebody type it and then get a copy back the next day, and it worked, but now everybody uses a computer or voice dictation and have it immediately ready, and you send it to your client. Things have changed, and it's a digital world, so we should expect to see that digital world show up in our operations, whether it's automating a manual process like docketing, or performing prior art searches, or using AI to look at billing and look for trends. We're gonna constantly see the technology from around the world showing up within our little patent world, and it may not be perfect to start with, and it may be a slow progress. It'll start here and then it'll build upon itself. But part of this is embracing that change, because it's going to happen, and it's the only way to be competitive. Karin, one of the audience members is wondering, if they take over a portfolio, whether it's through an acquisition or in a law firm, a new client comes in, is there a feature that can import all that data from the IP office for that client into Patricia? So how do you handle bulk inputs?
That's a little bit what we touched upon before, that now you can pull in the data from the open patent source or trademark view if you're looking at trademarks, but you do it on a case by case, but not bulk. But it for sure saves time if you have like the date and the application number, and you will pull all other information in, and you don't have to have the paralegal sitting manually to do that. It's very efficient. But of course, there are ways, if you have the whole portfolio, there are ways to import that into Patricia, even if you don't have to go through the OPS. It depends a little bit where you get the information from, so to speak. And by the way, Russ,
Yeah.
I agree with that trend, because I'm not going to tell the audience how old I am, but when I started as a young lawyer from a law firm, and that's not too many years ago, we used the dictaphones. And another trend is probably that the young generation, they want to be able to do this themselves. They want to generate a report from a software. It should be intuitive. It should be a nice interface, because they don't work in the same old-fashioned way that they go to an assistant and ask them to pull the report. The young generation, they are used to Apple and they're used to iPhones, and they are used to doing this on their own. So you need to have a user-friendly interface that no one wants to read manuals nowadays. You should just jump into it. And I think that's exactly what you said, Russ, and that is indeed a trend.
It's interesting to watch how operations have changed. We never would have thought about going from actual mail to PDFs to, what you can do once you take that written document and put it back into a digital document. And there's a question that came in, and I think maybe they were a little confused when we talk about turnaround time for docketing and wondering why it takes several days. It really doesn't. The fact that we can scrape the USPTO and immediately run the information through our platform, it's done immediately, shall we say. There's a little latency involved with OCRing, et cetera, but it's very minimal. When you're looking at international prosecution, the process isn't quite as simple yet. It's going to get there, where you can immediately go in and extract information like you can at the USPTO. You can get to the global dossier, and there's several different ways to get the information. But part of the latency that Lori was talking about in docketing, especially for foreign, is just if we're waiting for a document to be sent from a foreign associate with the original language document, which is what we want to process, you end up with a little lag in there depending upon that communication process or how fast you can automate that. Mehrdad, this is probably an easy question, but one that I think is important. Somebody's looking at the analytics. Again, as you said, you could save it, and just wondering how easy that would be to forward to clients. Maybe they just want an electronic right from that instead of the multi-step of saving. But is that possible?
Yeah, I guess saving it to PDF basically and submitting it, or maybe even provide them access to a collaboration portal solution where they can reach those records from there instead of having to send legacy data back and forth.
Well, I'm afraid we're probably going to run out of time. We certainly want to be cognizant of everybody's time, and we'll take some more questions here. But we didn't want to take you to the full hour. So I know we're not going to get to all of the questions that have come in, and we will get to you afterwards. And as I said at the top, feel free to reach out to Karin and Lori to talk about the different services and how that can apply at your organization. And I'm sure that Mehrdad and myself are more than happy to talk to you about technical operations or how we can help you out too. So feel free to get back to us with any questions that you've got. Mehrdad, a question came in here that I thought, I'm kind of reading it live as we go. Wondering how familiar you are with the South African patent system and whether you have many clients in Africa.
It's been a while. I've been there, but I was quite familiar with it. And yes, we do have quite large, substantial clients there in South Africa specifically. And I think the tools and the items that we've shown here would help in safeguarding the quality, data quality. I just want to go back a little bit to the automation portion that we discussed and the APIs. I think that's important. The API that we provided from Patrick's side, and which was very appealing to work with Black Hills, is that it is an open API in a sense that it provides access to all sections of the system that you can do and touch as a user, which means when it comes to automation, and I think Laura, you mentioned as well, once you enter data into, you can mimic the data entry made by a person through the API. So coming through the Black Hills data channel, data is being validated, washed, and once they're being pushed through the API into the Trisha itself, it will then kick off those business rules and what we call the diaries and workflows that may be associated with those items automatically as well. So you're retaining the user configured business rules as well as enhancing the data capturing and data import into Trisha. So I think that would benefit in any region, any area.
Very good. Karin, I want to give you a minute if you want to kind of wrap up, and we'll let everybody go here at 55 after the hour.
Well, I would like to thank everyone for calling in. It's been a huge interest. We were quite surprised, so many attendees, 200 plus. But you have my email address. You can see it, kkspatricks.com, and you have Laura's. And we have not been able to answer all the questions, but I promise that if you send an email to me or Laura, you're for sure going to get an answer. And with those words, I say thank you again and hope to see you at the next webinar.
Thank you, Karin. Lori?
Thank you. Thank you. One of the things we appreciate it because everyone is kind of tired of the Zoom questions. The polling questions that we wanted to add some. One that I think I wanted to add that didn't get put in there was how many of you are wearing pajamas right now? Because I know it's very difficult to sit through hour-long webinars. We wanted to try to make it interesting. So we definitely appreciate you attending, but definitely we'll get back to you with any individual questions or pricing information that you want. Just contact us.
Mehrdad, any final thoughts?
No, I would just agree with all the previous speakers and appreciate the time, and glad to see so many familiar names and lists, not faces unfortunately, but the names at least, and hopefully we'll be able to see you all in person sometime soon.
Well, I want to thank the audience too, and we picked this time zone, this time, so that we could hit as many time zones as possible in Europe and in the US. So I appreciate, I saw a comment from South Africa, they're making dinner right now, while some of our guests are just getting their first coffee in California. But thank you all for tuning in. And this is a topic that we want to continue having discussions about, because modernizing, as I said at the beginning, is really a mindset and a process and a very long endeavor, as opposed to let's just find a new tool or a new process and we're done, because that's just not going to happen. And working, Black Hills IP and Patrick's working together to integrate some of our features together, I think demonstrates that as we move forward, a lot of these technology solutions can work harmoniously together and make life easier for our customers. So again, thank you. We'll log off, and if you have any questions, again, we're more than accessible. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.